So, in the world as we know it, one of the greatest questions is, who am I? Who are you really? This is a question that I had to face when I felt like my whole entire life was falling apart. You see, all my life since I was a boy born in Congo, I was raised to think that your image, what you portray, is so important. So I spent countless years portraying an image. I always made sure that I was wearing a suit when I went to church on Sundays. I always made sure that you were behaving or illustrating behavior that the community and the people in the community would appreciate your parents for bringing you up that way, right? So all my life, I was taught that who I am is who I portray to the world. So I give a lot of value to things like my clothes, to things like my haircuts and the way I did my hair, my skin tone. At some point of my life, I even started using bleaching skin tone, which would make me feel lighter. It's common in my community. It was common, completely normal where I come from. But that is to just show how much I thought that my image was who I was. And I built that on that. Like, I established a sense of a system of value that came from me looking the way I looked. And of course, Christianity was always a big thing for me growing up because I was surrounded by it every day. Like, I promise you, like every day of the week had a special meaning at church: prayer, Bible study, choir practice. I was just around Christianity way too much all the time. So that was even bigger in those communities because it was all about portraying an aspect of holiness that I wasn't. It was all about showing people that I am, I am a Christian rather than actually being one. So growing up, that became, my sense of self. I started thinking that's who I was. Who I portrayed to the world was who I was. So hence I would get very threatened whenever someone would make a comment about my clothing, whenever someone would make a comment about the way I look, about the shape of my head, about the color of my skin, about the color of my clothing, about how, what I have isn't good enough or is less than, or I would get really infuriated by that. And in my community, for a young man to grow up and have a kid before marriage and before finishing school, it's almost considered like a failure. People frown upon that, and people tell their children, you know what, you should not be like so and so's child because they got somebody pregnant. They are a failure, and I don't want you to become a failure like them. So don't hang out with them. Don't recognize them. Don't address anything that you want to say to them. And just completely ignore them. And become everything that they didn't become. Do everything that they didn't do. Do the complete opposite of what they did. And you will be successful. But when I got the mother of my child pregnant, that's when reality really hit me. That's when I was faced with the very thing that I feared my whole life. I remember my mother when I was a kid telling me, John, if you ever get a woman pregnant, you will get on a bike, put on the back of your bike, and you will ride into the sunset and you go figure out your life and we won't be there for you. Scare tactics, but of course I know they care about me and they have been here for me quite a bit throughout this whole thing. But in that moment, her getting pregnant and that news coming out into my community, that was shattering my image. That was going to shatter everything that I thought that I was. And I was so afraid of losing all of that, I even pushed for abortion in the beginning of it. Because I was so afraid to lose what I thought I was. And in going through this journey, I started realizing that one question started popping up in my mind a lot, which was, who am I really? Who am I? And I started almost dissecting myself, I started thinking, well, My name is John, and I'm a black man, and I'm the son of Papa Brahman, and I was born in Congo. I'm an African man. I'm a father. But all these descriptions didn't match up because I asked myself, okay, so if I was no longer John, am I still me? Or if I was no longer African, am I still me? Or if I wasn't my parents' child, am I still me? And and I thought that I was my name. But then, and I realized that my name is just how I identify myself. It's the sound that we make with our mouths that in my community or in my family symbolized me. So I knew that I wasn't my name. The second thing that comes, and I hear this a lot from a lot of people, is that, oh yeah, I'm a child of God. I identify by my Christian faith. But then my question remains is that, who is the I in that sentence? When I was saying to myself, I am a child of God, I'm like, that's also a way to define myself. But I asked myself, who is that I? Who is that I in that sentence? I used to be like, I am a father. But I'll be like, who is I again? And that really like stuck with me for a long time, and I used to wonder. I used to really wonder that if I'm not my name, and I'm not the attributes that people see me by, and I'm not the beliefs that I hold, and I'm not everything else that everyone sees, who am I? And really, after I just dissected all of that, I realized that all that was left was nobody. And if you break that up, nobody, which meant that the essence that I think is me, the awareness that is in this body that animates, the energy that brings this body to life, that does all these expressions that you're looking at, is nobody. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a preference, or it doesn't have beliefs. It just is. But it's funny because it's like, when everybody else, when you really break down and you think about it, if you watching this video decided to go through this journey and really break yourself apart and ask yourself, without your name, without your marital status, without your job, without your religion, without your body, your physical body, who are you? Because it's easy to say that, oh yeah, this body is me, but this is just a bunch of cells. It's a bunch of cells that shaped into bone and veins and muscle. And my hand, as you see it, is not just the hand. There's so much happening in my hand for me to be able to do this. So I'm not my hand. When I think John, or when I think who I am, I don't think I am my hand. Nor do I think I'm my head, or do I think I'm my stomach. Right? So I know my body isn't who I am. It's part of it. It's part of the manifestation of who I am here in this world where we experience things with the five senses. But is it really the concept of me? And I realized that it wasn't. And everybody else has that. And because when everybody digs deep within themselves, they find nobody. You realize that we are all the same thing. We are all the same being. We are all the same energy, manifesting itself in different ways. You see, just like in a garden, you have soil, right? If you go into your garden and just prepare manure and lay it out and water it, based on whatever content are in that ground, you will see different types of vegetation grow from it. Or let me give you a better example. Whenever you're growing a garden, you don't just grow a garden with grass. You have different types of plants in it, which creates the beauty of the garden. And it's the same with humanity. We have different aspects. Things manifest differently. That the same energy that manifested in this form also manifested in the form that you are. And I may be black, I may be African, I may come from wherever I come from, but it's the same exact energy. It's the same exact being, or whatever you want to call that constant presence that is in the background, running life. That presence that has manifested itself as a tree, or as a white or a black person or an Asian person. It is all the same thing. But here's the thing, you don't realize that until you start to ask yourself who you really are. Because I used to think that I was my name. I was everything that I portrayed and everything that people saw. But when I realized that that is something that can be lost through the pain and the suffering and the struggles that I had to face because I had gotten the mother of my son pregnant, I realized that we are all on this journey to find something far deeper within us. And finding that something that is far deeper within us connects us with everybody else. Because when you really take the time to observe people and look at people and how they live and how they feel and how they behave, we all have this knowing that there is a similarity. There is something human about everybody else around us. Something that we can recognize, that they feel just like we do. But if you really go even deeper and look far deeply, if every person on this planet takes the time to go deep within themselves and transcend the materialistic and the physical attributes, they find this nobody or this nothingness within them that is at the same time everything else around them. And when I realized that, it was the most beautiful thing ever, because it's like wow. It's like everything is nothing, yet nothing is everything. The concept of the yin and the yang, day and night, beginning and end. Like you can't have one without the other. Because as I thought that I was somebody, but at the same time, when I ventured deep down within myself, I realized I am nobody. But both of those things are interacting with each other. But here's the trick, that I only knew one aspect of it, which was the somebody, which was the outside, what everybody else saw, what I thought that I was. But I didn't know what was inside, which was the nobody. And I guess that comes from asking yourself the question, who am I? So if you're watching this, I'm asking you, who are you? Comment down below. Tell me, who are you really?